This is the Pain Train Preston Quinn, one half of the Extreme Horsemen. And when I want to hear music and entertainment, I come right here. You're listening to On the Fly with Stevie and Warden.
You are listening to On the Fly.
What's up, guys? On the Fly, back again tonight. And we've got a very special guest tonight. You guys know how much of a Kiss fan I am. And tonight, with us, the owner of Incognito Films, among other things. And guys, I'm telling you, if you're a Kiss fan and you want to see where Kiss is dropping the ball, and I'm sorry, Kiss, you are dropping the ball, putting videos out here lately. This guy picks up the ball and runs with it. Mr. Andrew Sgambati. Welcome to the show, guy. Appreciate you being here.
I thought you said you had a special guest, so I was just going to wait for the special guest
he's waiting in the green
to come
room
here.
Right now. He's waiting in the green room right now. But no, hey, dude, yeah, you are a special guest. Anybody that's got a love for Kiss like you do, and I mean, like I do too. I think we're both like super fans, but you are a special guest. We appreciate you being here.
Oh, well, thanks for having me. I don't do a lot of these things anymore just because, I feel like some of these things they've run their course a little bit. I've kind of talked about all the projects that I've done, and I really don't have anything else in the works right now. But it's one of those things where I found myself saying like the same thing over and over and over again. So, I haven't been doing these things in a while, but it's always cool to talk about Kiss and always cool to kind of sit down with another Kiss fan. And, this all comes from just the band that we like. So, some people, they talk about sports or they follow fantasy football or whatever. We just happen to follow Kiss.
See, I do both. So, I mean,
well, you got me there because I don't do anything sports related.
I got you.
I don't understand it. I'm kind of like, well, how do you pick a favorite team? Is it where you're from? And what if you move? Do you or is it a favorite player? What if they get traded? I don't get the fandom. But I'm sure people say the same thing about Kiss.
Look, I'll tell you two stories. Both of them, both my Kiss fandom and my football fandom started at the same age, and I'm still with the same football team. I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. I'm from North Carolina. I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. 5 years old, became a Steelers fan, became a Kiss fan. Second story, you talk about, does it change over time? I did get called out one time about that, about my love for Kiss. How did I stay a Kiss fan for, and I'm getting ready to turn 50 this year. So for 45 years, I've been a diehard Kiss fan. And, they were like, well, when you grow up, things should change. Like pretty much saying, you should mature, you should throw away the childish things like that. But, I mean, it's Kiss. I mean, I can't imagine not being a Kiss fan because I've been it ever since I was little.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I started at about 3 years old. And, I had an older sister who was, I guess, the first generation Kiss fan. And I kind of got some of the hand-me-down stuff. And I didn't know that it wasn't new. This was before the internet and this was before a lot of things. So, I had the comic book. I had a Betamax copy of Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park. And then soon after, I was in Kmart and I got a VHS copy of Kiss Meets the Phantom, which I still have to this day.
Yeah.
I got one and it started there. It started. I even liked them before I liked music. Having the comic book first, it was like there was Spider-Man and Superman, and there was Kiss. And somehow later on, I found out that Kiss was real and Spider-Man wasn't. So I thought, what could be better? So I was hooked at an early age. And years will go by, and people they won't see me and this and that, and they'll be like, I don't remember anything. I just remember you really like Kiss, and it's still the same to this day.
I did put a thing up on Facebook. It's been a couple years ago about what's the one thing you remember about me and all this. And there was like a ton of them that put memes of Kiss or something like that, or Kiss up there. Cause I was like I said earlier before we went on air, I was like one of the only Kiss fans around my area. You talk about Phantom of the Park.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you a story about that. 5 years old, what left like this big fair. I had at 5 years old now, a little kid giving up a fair to go home early to see Kiss Meets the Family because we didn't have a VCR then.
No, there was none of that back then.
No, but later on, what a Christmas present this was. I think it was 85 for Christmas. We got our first VCR.
Mm-hmm.
And like the night after, maybe it was Christmas night. No, night after Christmas. I'm sitting there watching local TV, and back then CBS would have like a late night movie at 11:30, and I'm watching. The news is on, and I'm not even paying attention to it. I'm looking at all my Christmas stuff, and all of a sudden I hear coming up next, Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park,
and what did they say? Who'd they say that starred in the movie? Do you remember?
I can't remember who they said.
All right, I'll tell you because there's two versions of Kiss Meets the Phantom that people don't immediately know about. When CBS was airing the late night version, it was an edited version. It was only 60 minutes.
Yeah.
So when they were promoting it, and they were all the bumpers in between, it says it's starring Anthony Zerbe and Gene Simons. And I still have that commercial. It's been shared online somewhere, so you could find it if you're looking for it. But it's funny because a lot of people don't know that there was a late night version of Kiss Meets the Phantom, and it was like a staple. It was like a staple back then because didn't it? I think it originally aired on NBC, and then
it did. That was the first one, yeah.
And then syndication was picked up for CBS, and it was just like late night because now people don't understand that there's so much content everywhere, but back then. And when you're reading about all this stuff and learning about all this stuff, networks were hungry for content. So that's how all this crap was aired so many times. And people saw Kiss Meets the Phantom so many different times. But it's funny that's the version that you saw because that was probably the version I had on Betamax.
Right.
And but once I got the VHS tape soon after, it was the full version. And I don't remember. I don't have I don't have my beta version anymore. I certainly don't even have a beta machine anymore either.
Yeah. Yeah, but I popped a blank tape in there, tape that I wore that tape out because I hadn't seen it in 7 years and you just couldn't pick it up anywhere. But yeah, that was a good Christmas present for me. But so you talked about growing up, how you became a Kiss fan. What other bands were you listening to back then?
Well, it started with just Kiss, and then as I kind of got older, it was any band that listed Kiss as an influence, I automatically gravitated towards, I automatically listened to. So it was your Motley Crues, it was your Wingers, your Slaughters, all those bands like that. I listened to 80s metal for a little bit, but now I can't stand 80s metal. I can't stand it. I can't stand your Poisons and your Warrants. I can't stand that music. Now it's much more, it kind of morphed into like Led Zeppelin and the Beatles and the Stones and Rod Stewart. And there's a lot of great European bands that I listen to. Kiss is still my favorite band,
right?
By far. But, it started with Kiss, and it was like that for a really, really long time. We take for granted now that you can get any music that you want just by tapping something. Definitely. It wasn't like that when I was a kid. You had to save, you had to buy the CD, or you had to buy the tape, or you had to listen to it on the radio. So, it wasn't easy. Friends of mine, like the generation right before me, they had to go to like the library and they had to like rent records or whatever. It's not as easy as it was. So for those first formative years of my life, it was just nothing but Kiss because that's all I had.
Yeah. And that's really, like you said, up until I was like 10 or 11, Kiss was probably the only thing I was listening to besides what my parents were listening to. My older brother might listen to something different, but that was really all I was listening to. So favorite Kiss member?
It changes all the time, but it's probably always Gene.
Gene, yeah, mine's Ace. But
it's always Gene because I got to spend the most time with Gene, and he's not the demon anymore. I've humanized him, so he's my favorite, especially around the time that The Vault came out. He was absolutely my favorite. Absolutely.
How was it meeting him?
I mean, the first time I was starstruck, the first time was at Tower Records in December of 2001 for the box set signing. That was the first time I ever met him. But since then, it's cool. He's just, one of my favorite times with him. They played in Buffalo on the end of the road tour. Then the day after the show, I was with him doing a bunch of Gene Simmons Moneybag Soda appearances, and we're just hanging out with him the whole day. Like we were in my friend's basement, just sitting around eating pizza with him. It was very, very, very cool. And he's probably the most personable member of the band. He'll talk your ear off about whatever you want.
Yeah, listening to another podcast, the Shout Out Loudcast, listen to the experience they had with the Gene Simmons, I guess with the weekend or the night with Gene Simmons.
Yeah. That was in Vegas. Bruce was there.
And there were a lot of people there, and I mean that turned out to be a great thing. But they were talking about how personable he was. He wasn't just coming into everybody's table and just going through a set thing to talk about like he was going through the motions. He was actually generally wanting to know about them. And I think Gene's probably the most genuine out of all of them. I would think.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So what made you decide to get into filmmaking?
Well, I've always that was like always my passion growing up. I would watch TV all the time, not because I was just like a TV snob or whatever. I was looking at the angle changes and how they did stuff. And I was at that, like the cusp of where there was this drive of new technology coming out. So now you could edit movies in your house, where if I was 5 or 10 years older, that wasn't happening back then. So when I was like a freshman in high school, they had like classes where you can sit in front of a computer and learn how to use Adobe Premiere or whatever. So what kept me in high school is I was part of this fine and performing arts program my junior and senior year. And I was just learning how to edit and learning how to do this. And it was part passion for wanting to do it and just being like obsessed with making movies and editing. And it was part just learning the actual technology behind it. Aside from that, I never took any schooling. I never did anything, never did any of that stuff. I just, one day I was like, I'm going to do this. And then I did it. Now it's so easy because now if I'm like, man, I forget how to do this, look on YouTube and I find a video on how to do it.
Yeah,
it's easy now.
You can look on YouTube and figure out how to fix anything. I fix a washing machine off YouTube.
Yeah.
And Incognito Film, what was your first project? I mean, maybe even before Incognito Films come up. What was your first film?
Well, it's always been Incognito Films. I've always had
always
that.
Been?
Yeah, I've always had Incognito Films. Just because I thought the name sounded cool. One of my favorite filmmakers is Kevin Smith. And
yes. Yeah.
I think it was Dogma, where Jason Lee is like, we got to get in there incognito. He was like, incognito. And that's where I took it. That's where I took the name from. I thought that just sounded cool. I was like, all right, so I'll do that. I'll do incognito. And just I started out just making, silly little DVDs. And then I started doing like projects in my film class. And then, unfortunately, I was bitten by the music bug and didn't really do anything as far as editing goes while I was playing in these different tribute bands. And once I'd left the tribute band, I was like, I'm going to make a short film. And that's what I did.
Yeah.
And,
you brought up the tribute bands, a Kiss tribute band.
Yes.
Mr. Speed, playing drums for Mr. Speed. What was it like doing that? I mean, this is a band that you've grown up idolizing. What was it like getting out there, putting the makeup on and playing these classic songs?
Well, it wasn't the first band I was ever in.
Okay.
Before that, I worked for the band called Kiss Nation in New York City. I played 2 shows with them over like the course of time. Never was really in the band. I just was kind of working for them. Then I was in a band called Parasite. And, I just played with all these other different tribute bands throughout the years. And then somehow I ended up in Cleveland and I joined Mr. Speed. I actually moved to Cleveland for Mr. Speed. And then I just did it until it wasn't fun for me anymore. And I'll probably never do it again.
Okay. So I can't imagine putting the makeup on though and getting in that kind of setting and playing like that though. That's gotta be awesome.
By the time I was doing it all the time, I had done it for so long that it was just like your dad or whoever putting on their suit before going to Wall Street.
Right.
That's what I attributed it to.
when it gets to being something like that, that's when you need to give it up.
Yes, I remember the last like half a dozen shows. I was counting down. I couldn't wait to be done.
Wow.
Couldn't wait to be done.
So
and then that was 6 or 7 years ago, maybe 8 years ago now. I can't really remember. And I've never wanted to ever do it again.
Okay. So how many Kiss concerts do you think you've been to?
I can tell you exactly how many Kiss concerts I've been to, because I keep a notepad of all of the.
Look, you're old school. That's like I do.
Well, it's in my phone now.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
So I have tickets for 3 more shows. They're coming to Cleveland. Then I have tickets for the last 2 shows in New York. So once everything is all said and done, it'll be 46 Kiss shows.
Wow. That's pretty awesome.
46 Kiss shows, and the first one being December 31st, 1996 on the reunion tour.
So you in New Jersey at the New Year's Eve show.
Which is why the reunion tour is my favorite, because that was like that was
the first show. Yeah,
that was the first show, and that was kind of, I was a fan before the reunion tour, but that was like the first time that I was a fan in current time and kind of able to live what was going on. And still to this day, the reunion tour is my favorite. I get a feeling with the reunion tour that I don't get with any other tours. I'm sure a lot of people feel that way about the first time they saw the band is their favorite tour. I know some of my friends first saw them on the Creatures of the Night tour, and they say that Creatures of the Night is my favorite tour because that's when I saw them first, or Dynasty is my favorite when I saw them first. For me, it's the reunion tour, and the cool thing about it is there's so much cool stuff to kind of go back. There's those magazines. There's The Second Coming is my favorite thing that they've ever put out. So it's my favorite tour, hands down.
So your feeling is, you got into it a little bit later than I did.
Yeah.
As far as Kiss. So you said you're 38.
38. Yep.
Okay. So as far as growing up and Kiss, well, were they out of makeup? Most of the time they were out of makeup when you. Well,
it started out, but remember, there wasn't any internet. The MTV wasn't really talking about them. So for me, being a kid in New Jersey in '94 or '95, no one was talking about Kiss out of makeup. People are like, "Hey, remember when they wore the makeup?" And I didn't realize that they stopped wearing it. I was really young, but I knew when they put it back on.
Oh yeah, because I know a lot of people that are in your age range say they were a little disappointed when they put the makeup back on because they're such fans of like the Bruce and Eric and the Revenge era.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because I've said this on many, many different podcasts before. I feel like I'm part of that lost era of Kiss fans where Kiss got young fans in the 70s because of the makeup, and then they got a lot of young fans again in the 90s and currently. But in 1985, Kiss wasn't making fans that were 3 and 4 years old. So by the time I got to the reunion tour, I was already a big fan at 11 and 12 years old. There weren't any other fans my age at that time. Now there's 2 generations below me, but at the time I didn't see any kids my age, and all of my friends were older for many, many, many years. It really wasn't, and it's funny, I always say this, it wasn't until the Gene Simmons Family Jewels era that I started seeing fans my age and younger. But I remember going, on the reunion tour to the Psycho Circus tour and even the farewell tour. There's nobody my age, nobody. And if they were my age, it was probably because their parents brought them. Their parents were the fans, and the kids were kind of maybe fair weather fans. But there wasn't a diehard fan my age at the time. And if you're out there, prove me wrong. But I just remember going to the conventions, and I remember, the birth of the internet, and I just remember all these different things, and I never saw somebody my age at that time. Never.
Yeah, back when, and I'm dating myself here, America Online was big. I remember when the reunion tour hit, there was a official Kiss chat room for the reunion tour, and I was in there like every night. I remember we had a lot of guys that I was not close to, but would look for. But I can tell you when I saw, Unplugged, of course, the Unplugged stuff, which started it all, started the whole reunion thing. But then the night, and I told the story on the 100th episode I did, seeing them coming out at the Grammys. I was on the phone with a girl, and I saw them come out on the Grammys, and I could not stop myself from saying, I just said, "Holy shit." And she was like, "What are you talking about?" And, you're debating on whether this girl's going to think Kiss is cool or not. And I'm like, and I told her, I was like, yeah, she, we never went out. So It didn't work out. But yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people were upset because the Eric and Bruce era was over, but man, how could you not be excited about
How
them
could you
putting
not be excited
makeup?
for that? And I
God,
don't know if you remember this, and I didn't experience it like at the time. I saw a video later on, but when they announced that Kiss was going to be on the Grammys, they used a photo of them out of makeup. They didn't even say that they were going to be in makeup.
yeah.
Um,
I do vaguely remember that because they I think on the yeah, when they did the not the pre-show but the intro to the show, they were talking about including, and they had Kiss, and they had
without makeup.
the only thing they showed was the unplugged. They were showing it was like Gene playing on the unplugged stuff. So you
Mhm.
didn't have a clue they were going to
Had
be
no
there
clue.
as far as makeup. And then of course when you watch like the Second Coming, which is one of my favorites, is like you
Mhm.
said, uh, and you see that the look on people's face backstage when they come back there in makeup, and you can just say, "Oh yeah, this is going to be something."
It wasn't a very well kept secret, and we know that now, like looking
Yeah,
back, because there was people on Talk Soup, which was a show on E way back then. They were doing features on it, says, "Hey, Kiss is coming back," or the blah blah blah. Kiss is doing this, and I think Gene sent a fax to somebody. Gene was really big on faxes, and he says that it was happening. So it wasn't a very well kept secret to the diehard fans. The diehard fans kind of already knew what was happening.
this is one I still have when they actually made
You
'96 Hit Parader.
you can't see it here, but right this way is I have a magazine rack of all that stuff.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, I got a magazine. You can see kind of behind me. There's a
Yeah.
that's the guitar I caught in Japan, and that's Eric Singer's stage played drum from Toledo, Ohio last year or 2 years ago rather. But yeah, I mean, there's so much stuff in here. Some of my newest things, and I just got these the other day. Just
Is that the
Dynasty Bears,
Dynasty
the
stuff?
Dynasty Bears. Yeah, I kind of just, for me, I don't collect everything. I just get stuff that I like. That's
What's your prized possession?
Smash guitar,
Smash guitar.
and I
Okay.
caught that.
That was-
So that was before that you couldn't buy them, and I caught that. So it's either that, or you maybe could see yeah, you can't really see it, but there's that big Love Gun Sam Goody display from the reunion tour. I've got
Okay.
that over there. So that's another one of my favorite items.
So starting the Kiss video projects,
Uh-huh.
and like I told you before we went on the air, I've watched all of them.
I'm so
And
sorry.
no, and all I can say is thank you, because over the years and I know it's kind of tied up. I hear the people, at least the people saying the Kissology stuff is tied up with who
VH1.
owns the rights to it
Yeah.
with VH1.
VH1, yeah.
And stuff like that. Because Kissology, when the first Kissology came out, I was like, oh, yes, this is great. This is going to be great. They need to keep doing a series of these. But after what I think was 4 the last one?
No, it was 3. 3 was the last one. 3.
So 4 was the one that was everybody kept saying it's coming soon and it's tied up with VH1. After that, Kiss has pretty much gone dry as far as video releases. I don't think there has been a video release since then.
So let's see. Rocks Vegas has come out since
Okay,
then.
yeah, and we won't even talk about Dubai. That's a sore subject for a lot of Kiss fans right now. But you, as far as when I first heard about you, and the YouTube channel, we won't even get into all of that. The trouble you had there, because we don't want to. I don't even want to start there. But going to your website and watching these shows, like the Greatest Show on Earth, One Last Time, and you go into some of this stuff, and you can see in the background right now, Rise to It's playing.
Rise to It. There you go.
Yeah, and which is, and it's so hard to rank which one is my favorite, because if I had to pick 2 that were up there at the top, Greatest Show on Earth and Rise to It, because Greatest Show on Earth is what I grew up on, and seeing some of that, it's not just a concert. You start off with like the concert stuff, but you splice in different stuff, like different interviews and different appearances through that. It's just like at the end of I think it's the end of Greatest Show on Earth when Gene goes into the restaurant, and I haven't seen that for years. I couldn't tell. When I saw that, I was like,
Oh yeah,
"Holy
because that was on
crap!"
the Share show. That was on the
Yeah,
Share.
yeah.
That's the
I
after
hadn't
credit
seen
scene.
that in years. So yeah, when I saw that, I was like, "That's freaking awesome." But these two would probably be my favorite. But talk a little bit about how long it takes to put together something like this. I mean, because
Well,
I dabbled in videography, nothing to the extent that you do, and you've got to have patience and you got to know what you're doing. How long would it take to do a project like this?
well, the first Greatest Show on Earth took like 11 months to do because first of all, I didn't even know if I could do it, and then if I was going to do it, was it going to be any good? So, but I kind of always had this idea that there should have been like a Kiss movie the way there was a Led Zeppelin movie. So that's where the idea was born.
Right.
And
Exactly.
then everybody knows that Kiss never sounded fantastic live, but Alive 2 sounded fantastic. So I was like, I got
Yeah.
these 3 shows that Kiss released. Maybe I can edit them together and make them look like it Kiss Alive 2 is coming to life. So that's where it started. And then in addition to that, I was like, well, let's tell the story of the band and let's let's make it like a movie. And then when I went and did the high definition version of it, it was just about what would a Kiss movie at the time look like. I mean, if you saw the Last Waltz by the great Martin Scorsese, I wanted to do a Kiss version of that. So that's what I tried to do. And at first I was like, all right, if I do something good, maybe Kiss will call me. Wouldn't that be fun?
Exactly.
But I guess the biggest accolade that I've had on that is I put out One Last Time in May of 2020. People flipped out over it. It had 100,000 views in less than 7 days. And then, so I put that out in May of 2020. And then I remember when I went to see the premiere of Kisstory in June of 2021, started out exactly the same as One Last Time. So I know somebody saw that. I was like, yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Somebody's watching.
Yeah.
And some more stuff that you did, which were a little bit shorter. The Live 3 30th anniversary, the Crazy Nights 35th anniversary, which you got to work with
Bruce Kulick.
Absolutely, one of the if you could pick the nicest member of Kiss, the ambassador of Kiss, I call him Bruce Kulick. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can't imagine. I would love to be able to pick Bruce Kulick's brain for about an hour. How was it working with Bruce?
It was cool. We ended up just striking up a friendship about a year ago, and he's like my big brother. It's just he's definitely he's a music fan, but he really wants to shine a little light on his era of the band because some people, they've forgotten about it. But he's extremely down to earth. He's extremely professional, and he's a really funny guy. We've I've got to spend some time with him, and Grand Funk Railroad will be here in Cleveland in a month, so I'll get to see him again. But it's just it's cool to be able to say, to watch something like Rise to It or watch something like Kiss Confidential or Kiss Extreme Close Up and see a guy in there and be like, that guy's my friend.
Exactly.
It's cool, and he's very, very, very down to earth, and he understands what the fans want, and he really wants to tell a story. So I was very glad that I was able to help him tell his story through Crazy Nights and through Alive 3.
I think if you do, there's 2 more that you need to do with him: Asylum, and everybody would love to see Carnival of Souls.
We did a little Carnival of Souls thing this past year. It was short because he was going away on the Kiss cruise and I just had other things going on. So who knows? I mean, maybe later on we'd like to celebrate big anniversaries. So maybe in 2 years for the Asylum 40th anniversary, we'll do a video.
Because I'll tell you, when he stepped in, because the only way you had to keep up with what was going on with any band was magazines, Hit Parade, like the Hit Parade, Circus, Metal Edge, and to read about what was going on with Mark St. John, Bruce Kulick waiting to the side, and then people would talk about it, but I was like, why don't? And I was just saying back then, why don't they just let the Kulick guy come in? And I mean, let him be the and then when you see Asylum, when I got the Asylum cassette and see him up there and he's like the permanent member, I was like, thank you, Lord. And this guy, I mean, you can't ask with what he's done with Kiss, from the albums he put out from Asylum to Crazy Nights, and then to hear the Step Aside. And I know he had to be upset about the whole reunion thing because Carnival of Souls had just been done. And he wanted to get that album, but to Step Aside like he did, he's quickly moved up my list. He's like number 3 on my list behind Ace and Eric Carr. Not even Paul and Gene. He's above Paul and Gene for me. But just a great guy. I can't imagine being able to work with Bruce like that.
Yeah, he just sent me this too. He just sent me this. This. Where's the camera? Oh, there it is. This is a Live 3 pen.
Live 3 pen.
Yeah, I never knew about that. So I saw that and he sent it to me and I thought it was cool that he did that.
That is, just like you said, the fact that you can sit there and watch this and say that guy's my friend. That's
it's cool. And I've known Eric Singer for like 20 some odd years. Him and I, we text back and forth every now and then. I'm pretty friendly with Gene and I know Tommy a little bit. So I've been lucky that I've been able to get close to these guys.
You're very lucky, very lucky. When you put out like some of the first videos, did you ever hear anything from the band? Like
never
heard anything from the band.
I never heard anything good or bad from them, which I guess is okay because aside from a little snafu that happened last year, they've never told me to stop or anything. So because they know that it comes from the right place. So I've never heard anything from the band. So that's okay. That's okay. That maybe that's what it was about initially, but soon after that, it just was about just showing people how I feel about the band, and it ended up being fun.
So you said when we started that there was nothing in the works right now. There's absolutely nothing that you're thinking about in the works right now.
No, not at all. And you got to understand something too. When I started the original Greatest Show on Earth in 2018, I kind of just had one after the other. So there was some time in between, like release dates. There was some, but I've been working on stuff pretty much ever since 2018. So
wow.
Now I've kind of decided that I needed a break.
And I don't blame you. If you've worked on something like that for that long, you definitely need a break. But hopefully it'll be something that you
I just released Kiss at Midnight, re-released it in high definition. So everything is on the website now, which is andrewsgambati.com. So anybody could go on there and watch all this stuff absolutely free, absolutely anytime. And it's cool. It gives you it. What I wanted to do is I'm filling in the gaps. So I won't be doing some documentary in the reunion tour because I won't be able to do anything better than The Second Coming. There probably won't be a documentary on Revenge because there's Extreme Close-Up and Confidential. So it's about filling in the gaps of what isn't there.
Exactly. And you've done a good job with that. Because here's something I want to ask you as a Kiss fan, and as a Kiss fan, as long as you've been, and you talked about going to the last 2 shows, how do you think it's going to feel for you? And I've debated this in my head. The last time they finished Rock and Roll All Night, the confetti comes down. How do you think it's going to feel for you when that moment hits?
I'm not sure. I'm actually not even thinking about it, just because, first of all, it's months away now.
Yeah.
But I'll just enjoy it, just like I've enjoyed all the others. There was a time I remember after the Rock the Nation tour, we thought that it was the end.
Yeah.
Then, so I just kind of took it in stride then. So I'll probably do the same thing now. I haven't thought about it. We'll see. I know I'll have a good time. I know that.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, that it's just going to be weird to think about. I'm sure they'll do shows like everybody's saying, maybe just one-off shows or something like that. But as far as touring and Kiss being in the limelight like that's going to be done. I got a question for you. I don't know if you know anything about this or not, but I didn't know until probably this year. There was an alternate Thrills in the Night video that was recorded. Have you ever seen anything of that?
No, I don't think it was even finished, if we're being honest. I think because they were being managed by Howard Marks at the time, that agency. So they probably have the footage. They probably just didn't like it. So I've never seen that. I mean, in was it 2017 when I put out the video? I can't remember, all the years
Yeah,
they blend
yeah.
together
Yeah.
at this time.
Oh,
So
gosh.
but I remember when I put out the
video.
video, we always knew that was done, and we
Yeah.
always knew that the band just didn't like it. But I've never even heard any rumors about a completed Thrills in the Night video. I think it was just something that they filmed, and then when they went back and reviewed it, they were like, even for 1984, this is hokey. So that's probably what it is. But the one that they put out it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. But you always want, if you like, and I know you are like me, especially probably a little bit more, but you always want to see this footage of stuff from Kiss that you have never seen.
I don't think I want to see that, though, to be honest with you. I don't think I want to see that.
I'm just curious that, I saw the stills of it, and I'm just curious to see what direction this video was going to go with. I know they were all in suits, and Eric Carr smoking a cigar. So I was kind of, they're doing the whole businessman thing, working in the office, but I just want to see what direction they were going with in this video.
Maybe it was just a hokey direction. I guess we'll never know. We'll never know.
We probably will never know. Maybe they'll put that out one day.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows if they even finished it? They may have not even finished it.
They may not even finish it, but they got the stills of it. So if they put it out there for, how Kiss fans are.
I do.
Kiss diehards. We crave it, and we will ask for it till we hopefully get it. Any chance that you might do an Eric Carr video?
I don't think so, just because as you're watching Rise to It behind you, that was I guess my tribute to Eric. There's what somebody said, Larry Mazer, their manager, he watched it, and so did Eddie Trunk. Both of them knew Eric very well, and they said it humanized not only Eric, but it humanized the guys in the band. So I don't think there's any reason to do anything else on Eric. Okay, there's also that great video that Jack Sawyers did years ago called Tail the Fox.
Yeah,
and I think Loretta is trying to put something together.
There's
she has for a couple
something
years.
coming. I've been hearing about. There's supposed to be something coming, but I'm very impatient with it. I want to see it. But before I let you go, and we're going to do your plugs in just a minute, I do a little segment on the show called 2-Minute Drill.
All right.
And this is just some quick hitting questions that and some of it you'll be able to answer really quick. I don't know. You may have to think about some of it.
All right.
So favorite album?
Rock and Roll Over.
Okay. Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
Favorite artist or group? Kiss.
Yeah, of course, Kiss.
Lake or ocean?
Ocean.
Chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
Okay. First concert?
Kiss. Well, hold on. Ringling, do you count like the Muppets live in concert?
Not the circus.
It was the circus and the Muppets. That was before Kiss.
Heck yeah. The Muppets rule, dude. I mean, I love the Muppets. Favorite TV show?
The Odd Couple.
Wow. That's favorite meal?
Dinner.
Oh, come on, dude. What do you if somebody was fixing you your favorite for dinner, what would it be?
It changes too often.
Okay.
It changes too often.
Okay. Pineapple on pizza?
Yeah.
Okay. Favorite movie?
It's a three-way tie. It's between Scott Pilgrim versus the World, The Crow with Brandon Lee, and 525-77.
What is the 5? I say I've never heard of that. What is that?
No, I have it right here.
Really?
It's a movie about the first Star Wars fan. So
are you kidding me? I've never heard. See, now I'm gonna have to look at it because I'm a diehard.
It just came out in the last year. It's pretty cool. I really enjoy it.
I'm gonna have to check that out now because I'm a diehard Star Wars fan.
So you'll love it. You'll love it then.
4 years old, Star Wars, in line to see Star Wars. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big Star Wars fan as well. So yeah, if you like Star Wars, you'll love this.
And the Scott Pilgrim movie is very underrated.
I agree. I agree.
It doesn't get enough credit. All right, favorite song?
I Want You.
Okay.
From
Guilty pleasure. And what we talk about guilty pleasure, everybody knows you like Kiss and what you like, but something that you listen to that people might be surprised that you listen
to. Disco.
Okay.
All kinds.
Mine was Debbie Gibson. So
I can see that.
Yeah, I was a Debbie Gibson fan back in the day. She's still there. So last thing I'm gonna say, we need to get your plugs in.
Yeah.
check him out at his website and talk about where they can find you on your website, social media, wherever.
Yeah,
you want to talk about.
everything. You could just find everything that you want at andrewsgambati.com. You could find me on Facebook as well as Instagram and Twitter. It's just Andrew Sgambati. So you just go there. But if you any of the videos, and all the videos will be on my website, which is andrewsgambati.com. And yeah, drop me a line there. Tell me if you like it. Tell me if you don't like it. It's all good.
Yeah,
Just make sure you
anyway,
watch it.
You guys, if you want to get a sample of it, you see it over my shoulder.
There you
the
go. Rise
entire
to it. Right
interview.
there.
Yeah, and you know, like I said, that seeing that right there was probably one of the best parts for me, because I remember seeing that interview right there before, and some of this stuff I had never seen before from the Hot to Shade era, and even a little bit before that with the Crazy Nights era. But guys, check him out, Andrew Sgambati, Sgambati.com. I promise, if you're a Kiss fan, I promise you will not be disappointed. This is some great stuff, and you could watch for hours. I sat here the last week and watched all of these, and man, what great stuff. Thank you so much, Andrew, for being on.
Having me.
We really appreciate it. Guys, that is Andrew Sgambati on The Fly.